The Minnesota Twins have their eyes on the American League Central. In order to win that, they have to come out looking strong. I think it's safe to say they've done exactly that. Brandon Warne of Locked On Twins is joining us. This is Locked On MLB.
You are Locked On MLB. Your daily MLB podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Fans, welcome to Locked On MLB, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. This is the daily podcast. We talk about all of Major League Baseball. I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. If I wasn't, how could I get this lower third that calls me Sully? I'm an Emmy-nominated television producer who has been a baseball podcaster for over a decade now, and this is now my fifth season here with the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is indeed your team every day. This episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. That's Gametime. Hey, follow us at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter and on Instagram. I'm your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. Well, everyone and their cow seem to be picking the Cleveland Indians to win the American League Central. They could very well do that. I went on a little bit of a limb and decided to go with the Minnesota Twins, a team that I picked to go to the postseason last year. They came up short, of course, but they kept some of their key players, made a big old trade, and came out of the box firing. Yes, they weren't exactly playing championship caliber teams, but if you want to win a division, you got to win the games you're supposed to win. And I know someone who would appreciate that, and that is the host of Locked On Twins. It's Brandon Warne. Welcome back to the show, buddy.
How we doing?
I'm all right, man. I'm all right.
Yeah.
Baseball's on. We got regular season baseball on. World Baseball Classic was great. So much better than I thought it was going to be. But we got Major League Baseball on right now. And to me, man, this has been such a great, exciting start to the season. But holy Toledo, the Twins kicked the Royals' butt. It took the Royals 3 games to score a single run, and then they went to Miami against Johnny Cueto, who is either great or terrible these days, and he picked B. And the final score, as my mom would say, the final score was a lot to not enough. What was it, 11-2, 11-1? What was the final score?
11-1. Yeah, they roughed up Johnny Cueto
11-1.
And then he left with an injury. So yeah, it was quite a start.
Yeah, I mean, so right now, and look is it early? Of course, it's still early April. But that being said, if you're a team like the Twins, and you know you've got to scratch and claw to win every game, winning your first 4 games is, well, and winning them convincingly, and beating the teams you're supposed to win, guess what? Those are 4 wins they're not going to be clawing for at the end of the year.
Not only that, but they're on the road. So, I mean, road games are never a layup either. Played the Royals tough, played the Marlins more than tough. It was good to see Luis Arise again, but good to see him lose. It's been such a fun 4-game ride. It's early, but, last year the Guardians won the division by taking care of business. They won the games in front of them, didn't get too far out in front of their skis. So that's got to be the approach this year in the Central, and so far so good for the Twins.
Trevor Larnach. Trevor, am I pronouncing that? This is the first time this is historic. I've never said this player's name out loud before. Did I say
Larnach.
it right?
Larnach.
Okay, I gave him. I was in the ballpark.
College try.
On Monday, Larnach had quite a day. Going 2 for 3 with 3 runs batted in. He tripled. I think he homered too. So he did the hard parts of the cycle.
Yep.
He did the triple and the homer. He's firing out of the gate super fast. Correa had a very good game on Monday. He had a double. But let's it's funny. This could just be a hot start. This could just be a good 4 games. A lot of people have had a good 4 games in their lives. Okay. Remember, was it Yerman Mercedes a couple of years ago with the
Yep.
White Sox went off and said, "Oh my God, should he start rehearsing his Cooperstown speech? You can get on a fast start." But when you consider that Joey Gallo hasn't even been a replacement level player in the last year or so, and last year was nothing but was like an embarrassment with New York. And it was kind of sad to watch because he's an insanely likable player, and he certainly wanted to succeed in New York, and it just didn't happen. Well, against Kansas City's pitching and against Miami's pitching, he's becoming the Joey Gallo that Bryce Patrick and everyone at Locked On Rangers fell in love with. Did he? Is this just a couple of good games, or are we looking at a potential comeback player of the year here?
I mean, it's possible. The big deal with him is that the skills outside of batting average are good enough that if he hit, say, 225, 230, which is a lot for him, if he hits that, he can be an MVP candidate. And so the bar for him to clear to have a chance to win that award, based on what you said, the struggles with the Yankees, and he was a little better, but not much with the Dodgers. The bar to clear is pretty low, but he has looked very, very comfortable in his own skin in Minnesota, or for Minnesota, because they haven't played at home yet. But that last game in KC, he was an absolute monster. 10 total bases, also took a walk. He's been just exceptional so far.
Now, again, I'm not trying to discount anything that Minnesota did today. You win 11-1. That's, I don't care who you're playing. You win 11-1. That's solid. Do you think the Marlins were confused by the fact that the Twins were wearing the uniforms that the Marlins used to wear until they went to one of the most boring uniforms of all time? The new Twins uniforms, I gotta say, stink. But the last time they went to a questionable uniform with a questionable M on their hat, they won the World Series in 1987. So I guess it's one of those things. It's kind of like, it's what I call the John Elway horse, which all the Denver fans were like, "Don't change the D with the horse. Don't change the D with the horse." And they changed it to, they changed the D with the horse and won back-to-back Super Bowls. Now they love the D with the horse, and you see everyone in Denver wear the D without the horse without the D. Oh, it's turned into a Marx
and
Brothers
the
sketch.
Rays, the Devil Rays, once they dropped Devil, started playing a lot better.
Yeah.
And I don't mean when they traded Delman Young. They actually dropped the name Devil and traded Delman Young in the same offseason, which is amazing synergy.
Yeah. I hate the new uniforms. I hate them. And I'll tell you why. We're going to get positive again in a second, okay? Don't worry. The red uniform with the TC on it was one of my favorite new tops in baseball. I loved them. And all I wanted them to have was that little piping down the front, kind of like the Red Sox have. And if they had done that with the red unis and wore red hats with the TC on them, with a dark blue bill, you had me at a low. Instead, they went to this new fangled M and the Morongo Casino, and I'm not feeling it.
Yeah, okay, but you will hold out for the white ones that say Twin Cities across the chest. Those ones are very, very clean.
How's the hat? Is it still with the M?
No, well, it's an M, but then it's got a star on front on the top, like a North Star. It looks like the Marlins M from before, and so actually the Twins have gotten a lot of grief about that, but whatever.
All right. Well, hey, here's the deal. Would you rather be losing with a beautiful TC hat, or would you rather be winning with the leftovers thrown in the dumpster by the Marlins a couple of years ago?
Right.
I don't know the answer to that, but here's one thing that I absolutely do know, that you got to give the Twins credit for putting together the team the way that they do. It's hard to be a GM. You know, it looks easy, but I can tell you it's hard. And I've tested out my GM skills with what? With the ultimate pro baseball GM. Now, people listen to this show, and I know I do, know that I have been doing fake baseball teams my whole life. I had made up fake teams with my baseball cards. I had, as a kid, I created Monster Baseball, where I had a baseball league made entirely of monsters, and I would play them in the league. And I had teams. I had a playoff system. This is in the 80s when I was a little kid. Later, when I played hardball on the computer, I didn't just play hardball. I had stats. I kept the score, and I had the league. I knew everyone playing, and I knew the fake players. I knew the real players. Well, none of that compares to the Ultimate Pro Baseball GM, which goes through every possible aspect of being a GM, including my team. Some people like to do the real teams, like real teams and real team player names. I like the fantasy ones with the fake nuns. That's why I'm the general manager of the Honolulu Waves. And I must say, I'm not doing well. I'm competing against some of the other Locked On hosts for Amazon gift card prices of like $650, $250. I think I'm holding up for a draft pick. Okay. But it allows you to basically handle every aspect of being a GM, hiring the right coaches and staff, managing team finances, scouting and drafting players, managing difficult personalities and injuries, navigating a franchise. My beloved Honolulu Waves are going through free agency right now. We've got ups and downs. It's a challenging, realistic game world. Ultimate Baseball GM is completely free and playable offline. Play on the go. Play as you want. Play when they think you're working. Do whatever you want to with that. Locked On MLB listeners get a 100% free boost to the franchise when using the promo code Locked On in the game store. So make sure to check it out. Download the game. Just visit probaseballgm.com, scan the code, or look it up on the app stores. That's probaseballgm.com. Ultimate Baseball GM. Start your dynasty today. We're here with Locked On Honolulu Waves, along with the host of Locked On Twins. It's a crossover, Brandon Warne. Look, it is insane to get too excited about beating up some bad teams at the front of the year, except you and I know that if this team got off to a rough start, especially from the brutal September that they had last year, that continuation, it, of course, there's time to recover from it, but you're in a better position to say we have wiped the last September clean, and instead of making up for lost time, maybe you could build upon that. And when we see that Cleveland, who's also not, Cleveland played a harder team in Seattle, and they've played well too. So there's a real possibility that you could see these two franchises, going for each other's throats all year.
Yeah, and the other issue is that if the Twins get off to a slow start against these bad teams, they're playing the Astros, the Yankees coming up. They got the White Sox. There's nobody you can just skate by in that bunch. So you got to take care of business when it's in front of you. Fortunately, that other stuff is at home for the most part. And yeah, they're East Coast with the Yankees. And Red Sox. You got to take advantage of and then take care of business when it's in front of you. So maybe you don't want to get excited, but you can't discount the fact that they did what they had to do.
Well, I mean, it's the cliche. These games count just as much.
Yep.
And when you have a team, I think the Twins are a good team. I do. I think they made some smart moves. I like what their GM did. If you want to be a GM, then what you should do is wait, we already did that. And I liked the Arise for Lopez trade. Liked. It turns out if Gallo could fill in the offense that they lost with the Arise trade, and Arise was a nice player and a good hitter, but he was someone without as you said, I think you said this in the AL Central preview, that he was a bit of, while a nice player, someone without a position.
Yeah.
And if you could have Gallo, who is a very good defensive left fielder, and if he could become a good offensive player with power, then you've made up for the loss of Arise, and now you've included Lopez onto this team, which I was a fan of that trade for both sides, quite frankly. I thought it was a trade that actually worked out well for both sides. By the way, Peter from Locked On Marlins, who's across the pond, and I don't mean across the country, I mean he's in England. He's going to be our guest on either Thursday or Friday. We're going to talk a little bit about the fish then. I'll be sure to bring up the 11-1 spanking that they got from Minnesota today.
Good.
But but I think that you look at if you win the games you're supposed to win, and you could start to get contributions from people you're not expecting. This is the wiggle room that this team needs, as you said, because the hard parts are coming up. You want to hold your own against the super teams and beat the snot out of the bad teams.
Well, and to your point about Arise, Gallo's been playing first base, so it's actually almost like a direct swap. So
Yeah,
the way that's panned
I
out
forgot
so
he was
far,
at first. Yeah, sorry.
yeah, because they've had issues with injuries and Trevor Larnach's playing left, but yeah, I think the way they build teams and all that, I don't think that they're off to a good start by coincidence, but you got to keep trucking along. And if you can beat up the teams you're supposed to and just keep your head above water against the good teams, the surprising thing is that's probably good enough for 88, 90, 92 wins because you play them every day. So it's not as hard to contend, I think, as people think, because you win 4 days a week and you lose 3, and that's a really good team. So hopefully the Twins can do something like that and find themselves in the race by beating who they're supposed to.
Well, and the other thing is that Minnesota, they're not doing the weighted schedule. So it's not like they're going to have an extraordinary number of games against Detroit and Kansas City. Mm-hmm. So, they're going to play, they'll play the Yankees and the Mets and the Dodgers and the Braves and, some of the Astros just as often. So when you do get those tomato cans coming up, you have to take advantage of it, because you made a great point before, and congratulations on that. But after this Miami series, and I don't think of Miami as a tomato can. I actually picked the Marlins to be a wild card team this year. Yes, I looked at the Twins-Marlins game as a potential postseason preview, maybe a World Series preview. Maybe not the best pick right now, but you got, after Miami, you have the home opener this Thursday against the Astros. Then you have some games against the White Sox, who we know can be very good. Then you go to the Yankees and you go to the Red Sox. And look, if you've been watching the Red Sox, their pitching leaves a lot to be desired, but they seem to be able to score at will. You get a potential break with Washington, then another series with the Yankees. Until then you have like a 7-game stretch where you're playing mainly the Royals and the Nationals, but then you have the Yankees shoved in there. But you're right, there is, especially for Minnesota's pitching staff, we're going to learn a lot about their pitching staff, because they're going to be playing against some heavy-duty hitters pretty soon.
Well, especially Houston coming up, and they're going to miss Christian Javier and Framber Valdez. If you're going to miss or want to miss 2 Astros, my money says it's those 2, although I think Luis Garcia is sneaky good. But to win on the road and then to beat the teams you're supposed to, or to do both of those things as they've done so far, that can go a long way, because, again, good teams stay right around 500 on the road. So it's not that hard to keep your head above water if you win at home like most teams do and stay about 500 on the road. So this fast start has been exactly what the doctor ordered.
Yeah. I mean, Joe Ryan pitched very well in his first start. Mm-hmm. Obviously, Pablo Lopez pitched very well. Sonny Gray, who I forgot was on your team, pitched his 5 shutout innings. And in that series, again, grain of salt, because it's the Royals, but they're still a Major League Baseball team. Here's the thing that kind of surprised me was Lopez, Duran, Jax, their whole bullpen let up 1 hit. With the exception of Emilio Pagan, they let up 1 freaking hit. And the entire time that they played that Kansas City game, or maybe there was 1 pitcher who let up a few, but like the bullpen, they couldn't touch them. And I looked up today, and it was another 11-1 situation. So I don't know who let up the 1 run, but clearly, if the entire team let up 1 run the whole game, clearly the bullpen didn't get thumped. Minnesota's bullpen, if they could if this is a sign of things, at least the first bunch of games, I'm up here. Yeah, another 4 scoreless innings out of the bullpen.
Yeah,
That's
and it was
not something I was necessarily predicting for this team.
right, and it was Jorge Alcala and Cole
Okay.
Sands, so not one of their top guys or two of their top
Mhm.
guys. I think you could argue Alcala somewhere between 4th and 5th in the hierarchy for them, but to have those guys coming out throwing 95, 97, that's not the Twins that I grew up watching. It's not the Twins that I even covered starting in the early 20 teens. But yeah, they've got a bullpen that actually is cobbled together pretty nice, and they've got guys that have pretty good complementing skill sets. I loved the build of this team coming into this season. And you remember that in the AL Central preview, I flip-flopped our friend Rylan with Locked On Royals to the Twins. He was first going to go with the White Sox. I flipped him to the Twins, so I can be very persuasive. But I thought this roster came into the season really well balanced, and I still think that.
Do you ever see the movie Lincoln, the Steven Spielberg film with Daniel Day-Lewis and Tommy Lee Jones about Abraham Lincoln?
Yeah.
It's a
Oh,
great
yeah.
movie.
Yeah.
It's a great movie. And the majority of the film is watching people trying to get enough votes to ratify the constitutional amendment to end slavery. Why am I
Yeah.
bringing that up? Because when I watched you turn Rylan around, it reminded me of those scenes with like James Spader and David Strathairn are trying to where they're and Tommy Lee Jones where they're talking to the other senators and trying to get them. Eventually, we need these votes for Twins. We need these votes for the Twins. And Locked On Royals says Twins. Locked On Royals says Twins. So there you have that. Boy, that was a segue that I can honestly say I was not expecting to make. By the way, just letting you know one thing. Tomorrow is a special day for your pal Sully. Why? Because I'm going to my first game of the year. I am going to my first game of the year. And how did I secure tickets for my first game of the year? Game time! Game time! Buying tickets to your favorite events should not be stressful and wasn't for me. I get to go to the Dodgers. I'm seeing the Studios in Pasadena, California. Game Time is the fastest and easiest way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, theater near you. Great deals, last minute tickets, and you get the best price guarantee so you can stop stressing over tickets. I did it for the Dodgers, okay? And say when people make fun of Dodgers and Dodger fans, they draw. Look at the numbers. They draw millions of fans. Millions of fans. Why do fans show up late? Because of the traffic on the 110. You've seen the Californians. So getting tickets is not easy. Boom, got them. Boom, got to look at the best deal. Boom, deliver right to my phone. I don't need to go looking through my email. Boom, how's the seat look? You can see the image from the seat views. Huh? Lowest price guaranteed. Are you kidding me? Direct to your phone. And where's that email with the PDF? No, forget that. Those are the days of past. I can't believe PDFs are passe. But you know what? They are. The P stands for passe, and you should go right to Game Time. Snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app. Create an account. Use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account. Redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets. Guaranteed prices of the lowest kind. What did I just say? Lowest price guaranteed. My humble apologies to our sponsors. I made word salad out of the final line of the ad read. But there you go. 22-5. 22-5. That is the overall score right now. The Twins have scored 22 runs, and they've let up 5. They've played, 4 games, and they have let up just over 1 run a game, and they're scoring,
5.5.
more than 5 runs a game. A 5-1 game, that's an average Twins score. Now, are they going to keep that up? Are they going to have an undefeated season? Yes. That is my hot take. No,
There you go.
of course not. But it creates a little swagger to come to home knowing that they're the big bad Twins. Get out of my way, Astros. And hopefully you catch the Astros with their pants down a little bit. We saw the White Sox split the series with the Astros, which is what you kind of want to do. The White Sox almost gave you a blueprint of, walk away with a push. Beat the snot out of the Royals and walk away with a push on the Astros, and then you may be looking at a 90-win season.
And that's exactly what we predicted last week in the opener, the preview episode. So yeah, I think they're capable of doing all that. That's kind of the path I suspect they're going to take. But yeah, it's incredible how well they've started, and fans are just dying for it to continue because the Vikings don't play for about another 5 months.
Yeah. Now let me ask you a question here. Is there anybody on the injured list who you're waiting for their return right now? And is there any prospect bubbling over in AAA right now that you're counting the minutes for their arrival at Target Field?
Well, Jorge Polanco and Alex Kirilloff are on the IL, so that's their everyday second baseman and probably first baseman, which would move Gallo back to the outfield. But yeah, they're waiting on those guys. The rotation is healthy. That was going to be a big question mark. And then Royce Lewis is kind of not only a guy coming off injury, but still technically a prospect. That he's going to be a shot in the arm whenever he can come back. He says he feels good. I would guess June probably, but he was absolutely incredible before getting hurt last year. And so they have more talent yet, which is exciting.
Now forgive my ignorance, because I don't follow the team as closely as you do. That'd be crazy if I did. But Lewis is a shortstop in their system. And I don't know if you heard this, but they re-signed their shortstop from last year. His was Carlos something. And by the way, someone is going to write to me saying, "How do you not know his name was Carlos Correa?" I know. The hate comments I get from time to time. By the way, Angel fans and Ranger fans are taking turns hating me with a passion. They hate me. They both hate me with the intensity of 1,000 suns. As do Astro fans hate me too, because they think my unreasonable and maniacal hatred of the Astros are clouding my vision. As I point out, the last 2 World Series, I rooted for the Astros to win. That's how much I hate the team. I'm a maniac. So I'm trying not to have Twins fans hate me. So yes, I'm well aware Carlos Correa is the man's name. But what position is Royce Lewis playing? Is he going to be in the outfield, or what are they going to do with him?
Well, the position that got him hurt in the first place was center field, and it was his first.
That's what I remembered. Yeah.
So and he's even admitted that he'd be cautious around the fence. I don't know. I mean, he's physically capable of playing just about anywhere. My suspicion is probably third base, with Jose Miranda moving to first, Brooks Lee eventually playing second. But there's a lot of balls in the air as far as what's actually going to happen. At this point, you probably bring Lewis back, and maybe you even DH him, because they don't have a set DH right now. It's not the Nelson Cruz days or anything like that, but I think they're going to be very, very happy to have Lewis back wherever they put him.
Why wouldn't you put Gallo there? I mean, again, Gallo's a Gold Glove left fielder, but I mean, if he's hitting, I don't know. I this is why Baldelli makes the big bucks. Is he'll be able to shuffle things around. You almost don't want to curse him to being the super sub, but what Zobrist was and what DJ LeMahieu has been, it's a valuable role, because they'll have enough at bats to be considered a regular player. They just be able to spell Correa, spell this player, spell that player, and be able to play multiple positions. I mean, that seems to be, especially with the shorter benches, you're not pinch hitting as much anymore. Having someone be able to play more than one position, that's a valuable skill to have.
That's how they've built their bench this year too, because Kyle Farmer is on the bench there, Donovan Solano, and then Nick Gordon. They're all capable of playing multiple positions. And Rocco Baldelli comes not only from the Rays organization, but the Joe Madden coaching tree. So it's not all that surprising that he values versatility. Also, too, every time you see a good team, they almost always seem to have that jack of all trades. Marwin Gonzalez back in the Astros days.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned
Kiki Hernandez. Kiki Hernandez plays Tony Phillips was the one when I was growing. Tony Phillips was the patron saint of the person playing every position. Oh, it's funny you mentioned. One of these days, I got to come up with some sort of like Baldelli came from Madden. Madden came from Sosha. Sosha came from Lasorda. Lasorda came from Walter Alston. Like the connection there, like there was ways that you could the connecting John McGraw to Casey Stengel to Lou Piniella, Casey all these different the Casey Stengel to not Lou Piniella to Billy Martin to Lou Piniella. Those different different ways it all branches out.
I love those things.
Jim Leland is connected directly to Tony La Russa, which is why, again, everyone take your shot glasses out. I want someone to hire Roberto Kelly or Hensley Mullins so we could see the offspring of the managerial offspring of Bruce Bochy move on. He's
brilliant.
Well, look at, hey, I know it's only 4 games, but you can't ask better than outscoring your opponents 22-5 over the first 4 games. And, we all saw last year that they were tied with Cleveland going into Labor Day weekend. If they had a few more wins under their belt, maybe they give them a little more wiggle room. I don't know. Neither do you, but you can't ask for a better first 4 games than what the Minnesota Twins gave their fans. And you can't ask for a better podcaster to be there for the Twins than Brandon Warne, the host of Locked On Twins. By the way, everyone, I want to thank everyone so much for making Locked On MLB your first listen. For your second listen, obviously, that's got to be Locked On Twins. Your third listen, check out Locked On Fantasy Baseball. Win your league by listening to Matt and Dom every day as they bring you the best fantasy draft strategies. Find Locked On Fantasy Baseball wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. Brandon Warne, tell people where they can listen to your great show.
Yeah, well, check us out, YouTube and or everywhere else you get podcasts. There's about 1 billion apps, but Locked On Twins is what you're looking for. Plug it in the Google machine or go onto YouTube. We have a whole lot of fun. And I think I fixed my video issue. So it's going to be actually like in regular definition. So come check us out.
All right. And I may be getting, for those who've been, I may be getting some new equipment here this week. So you may see the end. We may be hanging the headset up to the rafters. Maybe even have a new backdrop. We will see. We will see. But follow us at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter and Instagram. And I'm your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. And please be there to subscribe to our show on YouTube. We're trying to reach 1 billion followers. Talking about the first 4 games that couldn't go any better for the Minnesota Twins with Brandon Warne. This has been Locked On MLB. I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully.